Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the third world socialist Sharia law in America podcast. Welcome everyone to our podcast. I hope you are at home in 2026. This is what America looks like now. Yo, Frightful, what's up, bro? Appreciate you. What's up, Frightful? How are you doing, bro? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to our broadcast where we are plotting the demise of Western civilization. What's up, guys? How are we doing? 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 Doing pretty well. Doing pretty all right. So tomorrow there's going to be a big thing in Dearborn going on. What's his name? Jake Lang is going. It's just kind of, I was thinking about that. You know, Jake Lang is going to Dearborn. And it's so funny because I'm always beefing with Arabs. I'm thinking about all the times, because actually it happened tonight. I'm always beefing with other Arabs. I don't know what that is either. Like the people I get into conflicts with on a daily basis, it's like it's never... I'm trying to think the last time I ever got into a conflict with a white person. Very rare. It's always people of my background or something tangential. Like at the gym and shit. Just always people giving me fucking attitude or trying to bitch at me or something or cry at me. I'm not talking about online shit. I'm talking about in real life, you know? But nobody does shit, man. I can't believe it. I was at the gym, it was fucking empty. And I have people... It was empty, it was genuinely fucking empty. So there's just everything I was using, there was like two or three duplicates of everything I was hogging. Like there was nothing I was hogging, right? Someone comes up to me and starts giving me sarcastic attitude about the fact that, I don't know, I had more sets. And I don't know, I went in, I did another set on another, again, everything, there's like unlimited availability. It's fucking empty. And then I'm just like, there's never a direct confrontation. It's just like this it's just like this TikTok generation. I'm going to be a fucking unk and complain about young people now. This TikTok generation doesn't understand confrontation. So all they do is they're just like, So what are you doing? Supersetting the whole gym? Really? Okay, really? Oh yeah? Really? Like, what the fuck do you want? Do you want to literally stand here all night and cry at me? I literally lost my shit. I didn't fucking yell, but I was like, yeah, and there's a fucking tissue. I said, what did I say? I said, there's tissue paper in the bathroom if you want to cry. There's that too. You know, if you're looking for some equipment, you go in the fucking bathroom and there's some paper you can fucking cry in, you know? I don't know how I come up with this shit. I was so annoyed. Like, what do you fucking want? I don't want to be your friend. Get the fuck out of my face. I'm not in a good mood all the time, right? And it's like, fuck. One day someone's going to want to fight me, but this generation will never fight anyone, so I don't know. So, yeah. I hate this like passive aggression. I don't know what it is. Just be direct. You have a fucking problem, state your problem. You know, when I go to Russia, people are very upfront about their problems. They're also respectful, but they're pretty upfront and they're pretty respectful. They're not going to insult you. They're not go move to Russia then. You know what, bitch? We do need to become more like that in a lot of ways because that's culture. That's what I call real. And when I'm in Russia at the gym, actually I've had people very respectfully, by the way, but they tell me if maybe my shoes are too dirty or because they have a culture at their gym or something. And I always understanding because they're just being direct about what the problem is and it's not unreasonable and they're being respectful about it, right? There's never this bitching and whining for no fucking reason. I don't know. That's the whole thing about bitching and whining for no reason. I can't fucking stand it, right? I really like how it is in Russia when it comes to I like how they solve and handle conflict. If you want to tell me strengths and weaknesses of every nation, I think Russia, maybe some people will laugh at me. Russia, they handle conflict the best way of any nation. When there's something to fight about, they're going to fight. But they don't trifle with that and fight for no reason. That's the great thing about it. They don't fight for no reason. They're always seriously looking for solutions to avoid conflict without ever crossing the respect boundary. I respect it a lot, you know? So yeah, but I don't like this fucking crying, passive aggressive, whining bitch shit we have here all the time. And you know, it is young people, of course, usually, but old people are annoying as fuck too, honestly. Talking about public interactions and things of that nature. So there's a lot of grace given to tourists. Okay, motherfucker. Do you think I look like a fucking tourist in Russia? You think people come up to me and speak in English? Is that what you think? Ask me a question. Is there been a single person ever that has come up to me and spoken English? Just one time. It's never happened. Even one time. Okay? And even when I do speak English, nobody assumes I'm American. Nobody. So you don't know what you're talking about, right? It's like what do I look like, a tourist to you in Russia? Okay, if I go to, there's some places like, actually, to be honest, there's a lot of places I go where people are not going to think I'm a tourist. Most of Eurasia, I go there, people won't think, they may not think I'm part of the dominant ethnicity, but they definitely will assume I'm some kind of migrant or some kind of regional traveler who has family here. I don't fucking know, right? There's only some places in the world where I go there, I'm absolutely, undeniably a foreigner, like in every sense, right? I would say like East Asia, and parts of Africa for sure. Parts, you know. And then I think actually for the rest of everything else, it's kind of, okay, parts of Peru for sure, but then even then I can pass as something. Bro, I ordered a cheeseburger at a... Bro, that's just how much you don't know about the other side of the... You think burgers are uncommon in Russia? You think the only people who like burgers in Russia are Americans? What are you fucking talking about? Could I fit into... I could fit anywhere. I could fit in Morocco. I could fit in... I could fit in India. I can. Somehow I can. For sure. It could fit in really anywhere. Only place I can't, East Asia, parts of Africa. And even the East Asia thing, I feel like if I shave my beard and I do a lot of adjustment, I could say 1/4. Maybe I could say 1/4. I could take a quarter, right? 1/4 of myself. Who knows, right? Who knows? I'm truly a universal man. I am truly a universal man. Okay? I am truly belong to all of humanity, right? Sweden, you know what? I'm not going to even go there. When you go north enough in Sweden, out in the boonies, outside of the cities, where like they're quite brown. Or something, I don't know. They're quite ethnic. They're not brown, but they're definitely ethnic looking. They definitely don't look European. This is something you guys aren't going to understand because you just watched Viking TV shows and shit. I'm telling you, if you go north enough in the Nordic countries, out in the boonies in the wilderness, those are not white people. Whatever you want to call them, they're not traditional Europeans. You don't have to go fucking see for yourself, all right? You know, you don't have to believe me. I don't give a fuck. Nobody understands this. As usual, we talking about race. We have a lot of serious things to talk about. Guys, and you're wondering why I'm streaming so late. Why are you streaming so late? Well, because I have been staying up and literally nonstop just working for party shit. Just nonstop the whole fucking weekend, right? Actually, Friday I got very sick. I came down with some kind of fucking illness, which I slept off somehow. I thought that was going to be a longer term thing. Thank God it wasn't. But then nonstop. And then I just thought, how better to repay that with forcing others to partake in my suffering. I stay up and you have to stay up now. And if you're wondering what I have been working on, it's stuff for the National Congress. pretty explosive, revolutionary stuff for the American Communist Party going forward. There's stuff. It's pretty big, pretty groundbreaking stuff. Actually, pretty groundbreaking stuff. You know, because at the National Congress, it's not a ceremony. We're actually gonna update our party. It's gonna fucking be updated. This is not gonna be the same party per se after the National Congress. You know, one way or another, there's definitely no way it could be. You know. And, you know, I take the burden upon myself. People have this idea that things can be done collectively. You just have to get a bunch of people and you just add up what everyone does. Yes, things can be collective, but not additively. That's not how it works. Something or someone has to synthesize things. That's the most difficult fucking thing of all, right? The synthesizing part. And, you know, I take the burden upon myself to formulate a new strategic vision, a new strategic direction. And, yeah, not complaining at all. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you that, you know, I have the right to have the stream be this fucking late on the Monday rather than the Sunday where I was fucking busy, right? But, yeah, going forward, things are going to be exciting. But there's risk, you know. That's just how it works. Anyway, guys. We have many things to be discussing, to be talking about tonight. So there was that thing that I saw that actually inspired me with some hope that I saw. And I'm going to admit something. I was thinking for a long time that the American people are being caught up in the PSYOP, loomerization. Like, you know, you have the DSA, you have the loomerization, and then, you know, of course, Tucker Carlson is a big thing, but I feel like the Tucker Carlson sphere is kind of being split between a lot of different types of conspiracies, you know? But there's one image that I saw from U.S. military people that were fighting, you know, presumably this was somewhere in proximity to the Iran war. And it's like you read what the soldiers on the ground, the people that I assumed would be the ones most psyoped by this fucking military nihilism shit, this loomer shit, this fucking garbage. Look what the U.S. soldiers are saying. It's all ruthlessly mocking everything. I am a good goyim. Peace deal number 64. Operation Epstein Fury. Be a good goy. BB's cucks. I love flock cameras. And, you know, I think that what's going on is something... I think this is actually where the majority of Americans are at. I think they're trying to trick us and demoralize us by making us feel like we're alone. By making us feel like this is a fringe, marginal position, that the majority of Americans are Laura Loomer types, people that are on board with the regime, people that are on board with the Epstein class, and they've just become cynical and demoralized, and at this point, they're just fully, like, Asmongold-ified. You know what? Fuck that. I think Asmongold's fans are a combination of Latvians, Estonians, people from the Czech Republic, people from Japan, Javier Milei fans gooning in the basements of Argentina or something. And yes, degenerates that exist in America as well, no doubt about that. But I don't look shoulder to shoulder in the country that I live in, and I don't assume that this is actually... I don't assume this is the majority. I just don't think that's the case. I think the majority of people are thoroughly schizofied in the best sense of the word. Like, majority of people understand that we're being ruled by Zionism. Majority of people understand. I mean, the flock camera thing, like, that is the actual popular consensus in the country. That's what the majority actually fucking thinks. And all of these disgusting anonymous people that you see on the internet who are trying to make us feel marginalized and alone and convince us. You know, there's this demonized coalition of people, Tucker Carlson. Who's the other guy? Ian Carroll, right? And they're demonized ruthlessly by the Groypers and these other scumbags. And, you know, this perception is created that, oh, these are low IQ anti-Semites. This is low IQ, low quality stuff. Yeah, Massey, you know, these are the low... This is an anti-people rhetoric. This is absolutely some disgusting Zionist misanthropy, right? Of course, there's retarded conspiracy theories that are running around and proliferating. But, you know, let me tell you something about the Andrew Wilson-Candace Owens debate, which I did see. I was sick when I saw it, but I did see it. First thing I want to say is I haven't kept up with Andrew Wilson's politics at all since I debated him. I will say that in person, as a person who doesn't know much about Andrew Wilson, you know, in person, he seemed pretty honorable. Like, he seemed pretty chill. He was not being rude or disrespectful, no insults. And I didn't have like a walk away with much of a verdict on anything, but nothing necessarily... I mean, I'm just telling you my personal experience. You know, I debated him on Fresh and Fit in person. And nothing crossed into the boundary of disrespect, so, you know, I would feel bad about personally attacking people for their positions. It's just how I am. You need to understand how I operate. It's my modus operandi, right? It's a respect thing, right? But I do agree with Candace on this debate, 100%. I do agree with Candace. And I just think there's been this concentrated effort to paint Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, whatever, as kooky and unreasonable about this specific thing with Charlie Kirk. And that is an extremely artificial, like, AstroTurf narrative. That is so fucking sketchy. Because when you actually hear the arguments being made, they're entirely reasonable. And that's the scary part. You know, a lot of the times when people start muddying the waters with, like, Jason Reza Giorgiani shit, full disclosure, when I am bored as fuck and I'm just looking for entertainment, I will listen to those podcasts. Not because I agree with them, not because I entertain them even 1%, but because they're genuinely entertaining, right? It's a Persian guy talking about how, I don't know, there's aliens and he's talking about Iranian stuff. I don't know, you know, it's Iranian history. So I that's like the most I go in terms of consuming that type of schizo content, which I have started a little bit recently when I'm on an airplane or something, right? That was the last time when I was on the airplane. But anyway, as someone who sees that world of people talking about retarded shit, I understand when you muddy the waters with such a wild degree of speculation, it seems crazy, but what Candace and the rest have been saying about the Charlie Kirk case, it's not unreasonable at all. There's a lot of fucking weird shit. There's a lot of weird shit. There's a lot of weird irregularities, just weird things. Like, what the fuck is going on with those Egyptian or Israeli whatever fucking airplanes? Why the fuck? Did you guys know? I saw that they tracked... Is this true? Just tell me if I'm wrong. Because I read recently that they tracked the IP address of someone searching Charlie Kirk's... Or not Charlie Kirk. Tyler Robinson's home address days before the Charlie Kirk assassination. And it was traced back to those fucking Egyptian or whatever airplanes. Is that true? What the fuck is that? Why were they looking? Why were they looking for Tyler Robinson's address? That's fake? Is it fake? How do you know it's fake? So that's just made up, huh? I'm so open to the facts. I have no fucking idea. That is like, wow, fake IDK. Then why are you saying it's fake if you don't know? The Google trend, but I'm not talking about that. I'm saying there's something about how someone looked up his home address and then the IP was traced, and I don't know, it's to that fucking airplane. What? If that's true, that's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. Right? Yeah, Tel Aviv and DC IPs. We're looking up. Yeah, that's fucking weird as fuck. That's weird. That's weird as fuck. That's odd. And I know I'm fully on board with the crazy train conspiracy theories because I'm a victim of the cover up. Because they said it was me who did it. They said I killed Charlie Kirk. All these Anons immediately the same within hours of the assassination happening. Within hours. They said the ACP did this. Then Steven Crowder repeated it. Then Nick Fuentes repeated it. Who the fuck would... That was so coordinated. Out of nowhere, they tried to blame the ACP. How fucking weird and scary is that? And it's a badge of honor, too, because I want you guys to understand something. In the eyes of these deep state actors, the Mossad and others, we are a symbol of the anti-Zionist Popular Front. They see us as like a symbol of this. That's why they wanted to pin this whole thing on us. We are the threat. We are the threat level. There's a threat level ACP. It's like, fuck. They see us as the like concentrated and distilled. Holy shit, if this grows, if this like this is the highest threat level is ACP. I wish people would open their eyes to that fact. There's different threat levels, right? I feel like Tucker Carlson's lower on the list. And then you kind of get... Maybe Piker is below Tucker, actually. It's like Tucker Carlson, MTG, these are lower on the list. You go upwards a little bit. And, you know, you start to see these other trends. And they map all this shit out, right? You start to see, you know, the pro-Russian sentiment from Candace, and that's kind of above, right? Candace, I feel like maybe is above Tucker. Probably, yeah. But then you keep climbing, and, you know, it's like, well, Jake Shields is there for sure. They consider him a threat. You keep going, and it's like... Somewhere along the path, there's probably a lot above that, right? But somewhere there's like this code red thing with the ACP symbol on it. And they're like, this is the fucking synthesis that we're terrified of. We're terrified. If you're the US government, you're basically saying, we're terrified that this anti-Epstein class shit, the anti-war sentiment, the anti-Israel sentiment, that can metastasize into Bolshevism, into communism, that's going to be like this comprehensive, universal worldview that makes sense of a world order and situation where we're basically aligned with Russia, with China, with Iran, with all U.S. foreign adversaries who are sincere representatives of civilization, basically. It's like, you know what? People always bitch and cry about my engagement with Dugin's ideas. But I'm going to say something positive about Dugin right now. And any Redditor, any left liberal who has a problem with it, you are a Hitlerite piece of shit. And you need to stand trial and fucking answer for why you have an issue with this. Dugin should be credited at the very least, even when it comes to the popular imagination idea of Dugin. Like, what do people associate Dugin with, right? Because, I'll tell you why. So, after the end of the USSR in 91, we have been, and even before then though, there's been these two paradigms for human rights and the rights of peoples and nations, right? One of this is Westphalian sovereignty, so the right of the nation state. So following the end of the USSR, the Soviet Union dissolved into all these nation states, like Ukraine or Georgia or something, right? And, under the kind of Westphalian, traditional notion of national sovereignty and self-determination, these are nation states with constitutional sovereignty, with their own borders and yada, yada, yada. And okay, that's whatever. Then on the opposite pole, you had a global framework for universal human rights, right? And obviously, the nation state is an inadequate medium for the recognition of the universal recognition of your universal humanity, more or less, right? Because nation states interpolate one ethnicity or one small group, and then universal human rights say, no, you are human, you are fundamentally a human being. There's a universal right and wrong, there's a universal morality of right and wrong, and you are human, and you have rights, and there are things that are right, and there are things that are wrong, regardless of where they happen in the world. And broadly speaking, this is true, actually. Nobody can say, for example, that, well, in Rwanda, the genocide there, that's just kind of like relatively their culture. In our culture, that relativism is very weak, and it's just not true, okay? But what was brilliant about Dugin is that he basically says he doesn't actually reject universalism. He basically says instead, different peoples or regions of the world need to be given their own opportunity to articulate the universal humanity principle in their own way, meaning there are different articulations of that universal principle, which, yes, do have a universal outlook and framework of right and wrong, but they articulate that in their own specific way. That's not the same thing as the nation state jealously guarding its independence, for the sake of being able to do crime. That's like Saudi Arabia and the UAE's idea, right? The UAE, let us torture and rape people and don't bestow any judgment on us because it's none of your concern. But that's obviously, we know that's false, right? The thing with Dugin and his articulation of what a pole is within multipolarity is that you have universal humanity articulated in a concrete way. And what we can call the Soviet space, if you want to call it the Russian space, call it whatever you want, Eurasian space, that is clearly a concrete articulation of universal humanity. I mean, the Soviet Union or Russia, Eurasia, that's not a nation state. That's not one ethnicity trying to impose itself on others. That's a specific way universal humanity and all of its particular differences are reconciled and recognized. It's a specific way. It's a specific responsibility to universal morality that does exist there. But you have this suffocating universalism imposed by the United States, which actually suppresses people's... Put it this way, right? It's like the Westphalian framework of nation-state sovereignty in the post-Soviet context, that's not liberation. Liberation doesn't mean when you take a body and you cut it up into pieces. Freedom is letting the body be. So what's brilliant about Dugin is the way he defines the body. The body is the pole. Like Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, whatever. This is all part of a bigger body. And if you separate them, you're cutting up a body. I mean, it's the same thing you could say in the Middle East. The Sykes-Picot Treaty is the same thing. It's one body, but it was cut up into pieces. Just because those pieces are given documents called constitutions, that doesn't mean they actually have rights or they have freedom. A way to deprive people of freedom is not simply to occupy them but also to break them apart and divide them and cut them up. And that's not because, a race is this integral hive mind totality of people who share blood relations. No, the actual reason is because that body is a harmonious, universal principle that articulates a universal morality and applies it concretely in the recognition between peoples. And it's this free-flowing, boundless harmony between our inner morality, right, and the principles that govern us. And in order for us to pursue that harmony, we have to be given the chance or be respected enough to be allowed to do that. And that's the idea of multipolarity from Dugin. Dugin's multipolarity idea, it's actually profoundly universalistic, actually, when you get to the core of it. Because he's saying there is a universal humanity, there is universal human rights, but no one person has the right to enforce how that is articulated at everywhere in the world, right? And so that's basically, like, on this very rough level, that's actually something we should appreciate as communists. Definitely we should. It's not that we're arbitrarily dividing the world into different spheres or something. It has nothing to do with that. It's that we have to move beyond the petty nation-state framework while simultaneously rejecting bourgeois, American, cosmopolitan, super imperialism as the only way we can have a sense of universal shared humanity. We need a common principle. As Xi Jinping says, we need a principle. We need a common framework or common principle of universal humanity. In some sense, I am a globalist. I am an alternate globalist, I can say this. It's like I think yellow Hezbollah globalism, that type of thing. It's like Shiite, I'm just kidding, whatever. But in a sense, I'm not kidding. Like globalism, but in the sense of the Iranian Revolution. A type of globalism that basically says we do need a universal principle. The debate is not whether we need a universal principle or not of shared humanity. The debate is about how does that get articulated? What is the language? What is the articulation of that? Do we allow people to articulate that authentically? Or do we impose a framework that actually, when applied to the wrong context, doesn't even mean that anymore, but is a form of oppression or suppression? And the thing about this idea of a universal shared future for humanity and a universal principle of humanity for right and wrong is that as someone who pays attention to the politics of other countries a lot, the worst thing you can do is adopt this framework of the law of the jungle and game theory. We have to just look out for ourselves. The UN and the world doesn't care about us. We have to care about ourselves and only look out for ourselves. In a sense, it is true concretely. But never abandon a universal principle of morality, of right and wrong. Never say that this doesn't matter at all. Never lose the universal humanity. Yes, the UN or whatever, I don't know. All that is a sham, I agree. Universal human rights is mandated by the US and the EU. That's all a fucking sham, a cynical sham. I totally agree. But there is a universal humanity and a universal morality of right and wrong. That is true. It should never be abandoned. I'm not saying anyone has the right to codify that, exclusively codify that, but you should never, never reject that principle or give up on it and just adopt the law of the jungle in a cynical, disgusting way. Because at that point, your national existence or your civilizational existence is no longer in the light of something higher. It's no longer in the grace and in the light of something higher. It then becomes something corrupted, morally corrupted, and you lose the favor of heaven. You lose your whatever mandate of heaven you had, you lose it, right? So that's something I'd like to strongly emphasize when I talk about such things and things like that of that nature. So yes, indeed. One sec, guys. Yo, guys, by the way, go to the sign up for our Chicago conference, honestly. Like, if you're going, like, literally go. Uh, hold on. Yo, pullover, what's up, bro? Appreciate you. You guys want to, like, bring on Carlos? He hasn't even agreed, but you guys want to do that? You want to go on TikTok and bring on Carlos? Hold on. Man, he's taking so long to fucking... Oh, no, he can't. He can't. He's not available. All right. All right, it's okay. It's okay. Bring on YeoAK. Why? YeoAK. YeoAK. I think we talked to YeoAK before. Where is he? He's not even in the VC, so what are you talking about? And just yap and intros. Bro, I got shit to talk about, bro. What do you mean yap? I can't just be yapping, bro. Sent a friend request. All right. You know what's funny? Chris, thanks. You know what's funny? I was going to say 10 subs to bring on YeoAK, but I guess Chris covered half of it, which is basically like covering all of it, right? Like, saved by the bell, honestly. All right. Okay, I added YeoAK. Our Albanian point of contact. The Albanian ambassador. The Lord of Albanian Americans. All right. What's up, bro? What is going on? Hello. I have not talked to you before. Hold on. You're not the same guy I talked to.
There we go, Haas. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I haven't talked to you before.
Perfect.
Oh, that was Noxter.
Yes, you've talked to you've talked to my friend Noxter. We haven't talked, Haas. Nice to meet you, brother.
My bad. I'm just a little bit racist. I think all Albanians are the same.
Do you now? Are you gonna turn your camera on or no?
I could try.
It's a weird on your stream. Okay.
It's gonna be weird because I have to put on my virtual webcam. All right.
I mean, W chat. We made the Haas collab happen. W in chat. I just came in, bro. I saw you were live. They've been asking me to talk to you for like hella long now, and I was like, okay, we gotta do it. Noxer did it. I'm seeing Sneeko start to come over to the ACP side. I gotta see what the buzz is about.
For sure. Hold on. Let me fix this. Okay, virtual webcam. Okay, perfect. Okay, got that. And then just turn the camera on. All right.
Oh, there we go. Perfect. So, Haas, I hear you're Muslim. Assalamu alaikum, first of all.
Alaikum assalam. What's going on?
What's going on with you? Everything all good? I'm assuming all is good.
Yeah, we're good. You know, we're good.
Everybody's saying Comrade AK, bro. You're okay. I gotta say one thing.
You got it in your name. AK is Kalashnikov, is it not?
It is, but it's also like my initials and everything. My name is everybody calls me AK. It's YeoAK. Name stems from like a while ago. I've always had it online when I was like a gamer kid. But yeah, your community. The one thing I say before I even start and even talk, you guys are tight knit as fuck. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they move like a cult. I feel like every time somebody gives you a sub, it's like, Comrade Haas, here's my 5 gifted for the ACP, take it. And they probably sit in front of the desktop, salute that shit away.
I salute them right back, bro. That's how it is. We are a cult. That's how it is.
I mean, like, you know I'm Albanian. You can see the flag, I mean, clearly. My family lived through the communist regime there. Like, I've talked to my grandparents about it.
So was it in Albania or was it Kosovo? Comrade Kid, what's up, bro? Appreciate you.
Oh no, it was in Albania. I'm from the south of Albania.
Oh, in Albania,
like South
Albania.
Central.
Okay,
yeah.
Got you. And you're Muslim as well?
Yeah, I'm Muslim, but I'm converted Muslim. Like, I wasn't raised.
Oh, your family wasn't.
Well. No, not really. Well, that's due to communism.
Amila with the 10, what's up? Yeah, but people still got family backgrounds. Like originally, was your family Muslim or what?
No, not
what
really.
The fuck, like, bro? What you just said, bro? Wade with the 40. Holy fuck!
Yeah,
bro, you activated that.
What
bro.
the fuck?
Wade with the 10. Holy shit, Amila. Thank you so much, guys.
Hey, I got you, bro. I got you. Your bills are paid today. All right, thank me for that. no.
All right.
But yeah, technically, like they were Muslim, but nobody's practicing at all. And like, if anything,
I
get
that.
Anything, you know.
But I have this theory that actually, Yellowstone, what's up, man? With the 10, I got this theory actually.
What the fuck?
Listen, 99% of religion, and okay, I'm exaggerating, whatever, but I'll tell you, 99% of religion is feeling, which means it's in the unconscious. How many Muslim atheists have you met that still will not eat pork? Or they're non-practicing and they won't touch pork? Albania, I get that they went through a thing where they, I get that. But if you're in the States, bro, what the fuck is going on? TMIZ, what's going on with the 25? What's up, bro? Holy
I just got this guy's rent paid in one stream. You know what, Haas? You're welcome. ACP, good shit. Yeah, I was also gonna say one thing. Like, even though we might not fully agree on the political aspects or anything like that, the one thing I will give you guys was definitely the cult-like movement, how tightly knit you are, and the edits. Have you seen the edits? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like,
a lot of that.
I look at that shit.
Shout out Cosmic Operations. You know, he's been doing that for 5 years since the launch of the
Holy
infrared
shit.
movement. He has never stopped. He's been pumping out those edits for 5 years. I'm glad he's getting the appreciation he deserves because
Nah, because we're all
he,
seeing him, bro. We're
yeah,
all seeing him.
he's been under the radar a long time, and Jackson's always been a big fan of his, and I guess I've been taking cosmic operations for granted in a lot of ways. It's just sometimes he makes some really crazy ones, like some scary ones, like where he'll take something out of context and I'll be like, I will nuke you, and then he'll show the White House and be like, plan in target, missile is launching to the White House. I'm like,
Okay,
yo, 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 yo.
You're gonna get Haas kicked out. Well, are you in America? If you mind me asking.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna get this guy kicked the fuck out the country. What, they're putting the White House saying nuke target lock? Get the fuck out.
I don't know, man.
They're getting you out of this
That's
country.
why I can't. That's why it's hard for me to always publicly avow cosmic operations. But he's very good at what he does. I could say that.
Yeah, it's been cooking. But yeah, what were we talking about? We were talking about religion. How you said most of the time, you said 90% of the time it's in the mental, right?
Yes,
it's not physical.
it's in the heart. Religion mainly is about feeling. It's not about mental dogma. So the things we think in our heads that we think we know with certainty, that's in our heads actually. Most of religion actually comes from the heart. Actually, there's this person who said something which is so true. The heart actually tells the truth and the mind plays tricks.
I think it's 50-50, to be honest. Like,
you need the mind. You need the mind as the thing to articulate the feeling. But most of religion is feeling.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't have the feeling if not for the mind. Because if it's just the feeling,
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Well. You need the mind to articulate it. 100%. MIG, what's up? You need the mind for articulation.
You need. I think for me personally, you need the mind to believe it. The only reason why I am feeling it so deep in my heart with Islam is because definitively, to me, it proved its test through time, through miracles, and through everything that it is the full-on truth. I established that through logic, though, which comes from the mental.
Well, I would say the mind, you need it to believe because it's like you need eyes to see light, right?
Yeah.
But it's a means to an end.
I do feel what you're saying, and I understand the same thing.
Sometimes
where
people
it's like,
make
even
an
if it's
idol.
an agnostic,
They make an idol out of the mind through philosophy.
Yeah, but that's like the atheist homosexuals. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
I know, but that's the type of shit that they're on.
Because with them, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm so smart.
You're talking about Redditors, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, the Redditor types. Yeah, the Redditor types. That's what they do, though. They completely eliminate. They completely eliminate belief and they just go for pure logic, which doesn't exist. Because if you know what logic means, logic comes from the root word logos, right? The guy who discovered logos was a Greek guy named Heraclitus. He was the most mystical guy, one of the most mystical people of the entire pre-Socratic tradition, right? So the guy who basically invents the root principle behind logic itself was not logical. Heraclitus was not a logical man. He was very intuitive and he was very mystical, actually.
Yeah, so if you think about it, it's like the person who they're following that created the term logic through logos. I know what you mean, like through the Greeks. He was a spiritualist himself.
Yes.
But then these modern day Redditor atheists, that's
exactly.
like they're complete anti. They're completely attacking that 24/7.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Now, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you when it comes to communism, right? Because obviously, it depends how it's ran, but the way it was ran in Albania with the communism, it was super, super strict on the religion. And that's kind of what ended up destroying the future generations and making the country very agnostic nowadays. Whether they're Christians or Muslims, people are not practicing like that unless they're like up in the mountains and they kept their traditions through the years.
Yeah, the thing about, I've heard this argument from Russians as well sometimes, is that, well, they'll say is that, look, under communism, there was morality. It wasn't degeneracy. It wasn't, it wasn't the degradation of humanity. Space-Time, what's up with the 5? But because they went so hard with the atheism, when communism fell, capitalism came in and it fully, when you combine capitalism with the atheism, it was like Satan on earth, right? And so they said the spiritual protection that was religion was lifted and eliminated. So one of my friends from Russia told me that once. And basically to that I would say, look, religion in the era we live in now is new. Before the early modern period, people lost touch with faith. They were just doing habits and routines without any actual conviction. And a lot of times, the religious authorities and clerics were very deeply corrupt. And all they would do is whoever's in power, they would enforce the will of whoever's in power, right? And
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I saw that with the Ottomans, like with Ottoman history, especially how they ran through the Balkans. There was definitely a lot of corruption there,
yeah,
especially towards their late years. Beginning, not so much. They were kind of great, but after like fucking 500 years of ruling over, those last few years, the corruption really spread. They would do this really gay thing, actually, where like in Albania, we have a dance. It's called the Valet, where we like hold hands and dance around in a circle. They would not do that, but they'd have their dicks in each other's asses and going around in a
what?
circle like that. Like, yeah, the
What?
Ottoman Turks, like, it's super gay. I don't know why they got that,
I don't know
but
nothing
yet
about
the
that,
late Ottomans, that's what they were doing. No funny shit. I'm not kidding you. I'm being 100% serious. We're in a serious convo.
bro.
But
I don't, I don't even know if I believe that. I'm gonna be honest. Like
bro,
that's,
there's like pictures and depictions of this. I swear.
I don't know what the hell that is, but I don't know what that can't be real, man.
Bro, I'm telling you.
That can't
Okay.
be real. Anyway, moving on from that very vivid picture you gave us.
It was to kind of add to your point, bro.
But no, yeah, the thing. Well, I would say mainly that religion. So the modern world, when technology is invented with British and European colonialism throughout the world, the rise of communications technology, the telegram, the printing press, you name it, just this rapid acceleration of how we experience time, people lost touch with the meaning of faith and the religion, right? Because it was placed
True.
out of context. And when this basically started happening in the past, let's say 400 years or so, it got to a breaking point where religion was a tool of people in power. That's what it served and functioned as. And if there were still religious, righteous people who were like, good people who stood up for the original meaning or whatever, they had no way of articulating that in a modern context. They were lost and they were confused and discombobulated by the context. So that's why communists were really against religion, actually, because they were more monotheistic than the monotheistic religions themselves. Because the communists were saying, we're not going to have this separate thing called religion where we're going to be good and we're going to be moral, we're going to be ethical. Then we're going to have politics where we're going to be devils. Then we're going to have economics where we're basically going to be Zionists who cheat and exploit and, fuck everyone over. We're going to have a comprehensive moral vision of becoming a better humanity, right?
But that's why we have Islam though, because we have the moral aspect
I don't
of it when it comes
disagree.
to religion.
I don't disagree.
We
But
have
Islam,
the governance in,
yeah,
in Sharia,
I don't
and then we have
disagree.
our own system too.
I don't disagree. But Islam still needed a new articulation because it was forgotten after the Ottomans collapsed. The Muslim world was asleep, and it was for a lot of things were forgotten. In Saudi Arabia, the British-backed Wahhabis basically took over and monopolized and corrupted Islam throughout the entire world. And
I can agree with that. Yeah, they push a pussy version of it. They push a
right,
watered down version of it.
right. And the thing is, something changed around the 70s, especially with the Iranian Revolution in 79. For the first time, Islam was being articulated in the modern context. And for the first time, Islam started to be the thing that was fighting Israel, that was fighting the U.S. empire, that was fighting for justice on earth. For a long time, the clerics were not that active in the struggle, right? They weren't fighting the British that aggressively. They weren't fighting the French that aggressively. They weren't really fighting Israel that aggressively either. Only around the 70s did this really start to change, right? And this is because of more modern theorists. And, I'm not a big fan of the Muslim Brotherhood, but Sayyid Qutb or whatever, he drew a lot from Marxism, actually. So if you know who Sayyid Qutb is, if I'm saying it right?
I'm not sure. Explain it if you like. Describe him. Then
He
I'll
was
probably
one
know.
of the founders of the Muslim Brotherhood that would eventually become Hamas and all that kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
And he was reinterpreting, or he was rearticulating the meaning of Islam in the light of the revolutionary movements of his heyday. He was very inspired by Marxism, by socialism, and so on and so on. I don't agree with him or endorse him, but what I'm trying to say is that that revolutionary vigor that we see in world Islam today was not something the communists 100 years ago were dealing with or responding to. It just didn't exist at that time, right?
So you're saying at the time the Muslims weren't really as one, or
No, they weren't. They weren't. They
yeah,
were
okay.
very scattered, very divided, and the religious clergy and authorities were just bribed and corrupt for the most part.
So your point is what, that communism needed to come in and make that hit for the religion to have a bounce back? Is that like the greater plane here?
I think that communism was needed regardless because there was moral decay and corruption in the world. There was a lack of righteousness ruling the world. Like the Islamic Caliphate of the Ottoman Empire, that was gone. It had corrupted for over 100 years at least, right? The great era of like these righteous Islamic empires, that was gone for a long, long time. The world was ruled for hundreds of years just directly by money, right?
True.
And the principle of an authority that is righteous, that is moral, that is aligned with creation and with humanity, that did not exist. So if you think about it, the way I think about it, because I am a Muslim, the way I think about it is God is so, his plan is so powerful, his creation is so powerful, that even when we lack the clarity, and guidance directly, he's still somehow making sure that righteousness exists on earth, even if it's in a form that's unfamiliar to the religious
even
texts.
when we were talking about it, like the way communism was ran back in Albania too, they definitely took a lot of shit from Sharia. Like you were saying it, how you have a Russian friend as well that talks about, well, under communism people were more moral. But yeah, because it was coming straight from Sharia, the way the law and shit worked, if you were to commit certain types of crimes, you would either be executed or humiliated in public, so everybody saw it too. Like in Sharia, where there would be like public stonings, or let's say even fucking beheadings, throwing people up, whatever. It's done for a reason, and there's a strict law and a strict rule, so the public stays away from it, and also it instills the right type of fear within the nation as well to not get near these acts, because that's what they were doing.
Yeah, Albania was hardcore, and Hoxha came from a Bektashi background, I believe, from his family background. And this is what I mean to say, that people can become atheists in their head, but eliminating religious faith in your heart is a lot more. It takes takes many generations, actually. People don't know this. Changing your religion, for populations, that's always something that took centuries.
Yeah, it's a process.
Muslims
100%.
were ruling when they, after the Umayyads and the other Muslim empires, by the time of the Abbasids, I think by that time it had been hundreds of years since the Muslim conquest, and the majority of the Levant had not even become Muslim yet. They were starting to mix and syncretize. But the process of people converting from one religion to another is actually spans multiple generations usually, right?
I feel like it really does need to sit in. It's not an automatic thing, especially when religions are coming in through empires.
So what I'm trying
to
say
will
is, like,
tend to see them. Though.
The communists officially had atheism in Russia, in Albania, and elsewhere, and so on and so on. But if you actually look at the patterns, the morality, what was in people's heart, and so on, the things they just took for granted, unconsciously they were still religious. Like in the Soviet Union, the amount of times that the Bible is cited in the Soviet Constitution is unreal. Just the Bible directly is cited. And even Putin today says that the moral code of the communist builders, which was the handbook to establish, the moral principles of the communists, he said it's the same thing as the Bible. It's like one for one, right? And so in Albania, you see the same thing. Yes, officially they're atheists, but have they actually fully abandoned the faith? Unconsciously, it's impossible.
Well, the thing is with us, it's instilled deep because even before
Yeah.
communism, we had the Kanun of Leg Dukajini, which that was the official law system before
Mhm.
communism, right? And this
Right.
was kind of like a morals book, a morality book for Albanians. And in there you see shit like eye for an eye. If somebody does this to a member in your family, you have the right to do it in this person's member in your family. So the reason why those religious values stick is because if you looked at the Kanun, it was just like somebody took the Bible and the Quran and meshed it all into one and created a book that was universal for the whole
Mm.
entire nation.
And
But the point,
Stalin was actually
yeah,
the one who warned Hoja about the anti-religious shit. And Hoja he
yeah,
took
he doubled down. He said,
yeah.
"Fuck that shit." Now I'm real communist, and then he cut them off.
But you know that story when Hoja and Stalin met, and Stalin said, you know, the religious feelings in the people have been there for centuries, and you think it's easy to get rid of that, but it's actually so much deeper than you think. And he said, you must not offend the religious feelings of the people. You know, he told that to Hoja because Stalin knew that from experience. He himself had an awakening. A lot of people say he was a practicing Orthodox Christian toward the end of his life. He saw, you know, he rehabilitated the Orthodox Church and so on and so on. Stalin was very wise about this thing, right? And he was trying to teach. It was actually about the issue of pork. You know, I think Enver Hoxha was eating pork, and Stalin noticed, and he goes, "You know, pork is prohibited in Islam, right?" And it's almost like he was policing him. That's my interpretation, at least. You know, so he was like
It
checking
was
him.
kind of to remind him and bring him back a little bit, but yeah, Hoja, he was raised. I think you're right on that. That he was born and raised Bekteshi.
Hmm.
Bekteshis, bro. Honestly, and if we're to look at it with clear Sunni Islam, they would be part of Takfir. Like they would not be. They're like a heretical sect. All right, I'm not like I know what
But
they do. I've seen their practices. I've seen it with my own eyes. Like they've made alcohol halal for them. They have crazy other rituals as well. So
well, I
it's not
know
like he
there's
was fully raised
modernized.
with the
I
message.
know there's modernized forms of Bektashiism that just became liberalized today. But you know, the thing that's bad about what happened to Islam after the Ottomans is that the Saudis basically, with British backing and purely because they were lucky and stumbled upon oil and they had the oil revenues, they standardized and exported a version of Islam that destroyed Islamic traditions throughout the world, many of
I can
which
agree.
were Sufi. And people think Sufism is just this like liberal, wishy washy type of like bullshit hippie stuff. But if you study real Sufism throughout history, Sufis were militants who were taking up the sword and the gun to fight colonial invaders, for example, in Africa, right? In Western Africa. Entire rebellions were led by Sufis. The avant garde of the Ottoman armies, the Janissaries that were doing all the fighting, they were part of secret Sufi orders, usually, right?
A lot of them, the Ottomans were Sufis
the
themselves,
more
bro.
the more intense and fanatical and devoted you were in the past in terms of your willingness to die for the cause, that was considered something very Sufi, you know? So I
Yeah,
don't think Sufism should be dismissed as the modern form that you see today, which is just like, you know, more wishy-washy individual stuff. It's much deeper and much more profound than that.
I mean, they just tend to be way more spiritual. They take everything in a spiritual sense rather than literal.
Not
They do have some
necessarily.
practices that go off
It's
the
more
scale,
that
though.
they focus on the purification of the self completely so that nothing is left but devotion to God. And that's what it's always been about. It's never, you know, the Taliban are Sufis.
Yeah, they have their asharis. Yeah,
Yeah, they began as Sufis. So Sufism doesn't mean, you know, wishy washy hippie stuff. So
I mean, I didn't view it as that. I definitely viewed it as more like they have more study of the self, right? They look inward. They're very inward
it's
people,
not, well,
and they are very
they
spiritual.
look
It is.
inward
I think
to,
it is.
they look inward to annihilate the self in God. The whole point is to eliminate all barriers between yourself and devotion.
And I think that's a great aspect.
That's the
And
inner
I don't
jihad,
I
you know?
won't I won't really fully agree with a lot of the Sufi beliefs, But I do agree with what you said on the Ottoman. I mean, on Saudi after the
Mm-hmm.
Ottomans fall, because this version of Islam that is currently being pushed within the mass media, it's a very watered down thing. Like they come around, they be like, "Oh yes, we're Muslim, brother.
They, you know what it
Join
is?
the Muslims. We are the religion of peace." And it's like, fuck no, we're the religion of justice. First of all, but they come off really pussy, and then you have like these Starbucks hijabis that like the liberal hijabis, the liberal Muslims. I think that shit's gotta go. That does not mesh with us whatsoever. You can't one day be saying La ilaha illallah and the next day saying who's ready to fight for trans rights. They don't mix. They don't mix.
Well, look, the Saudi version of Islam, the main thing with that is that it's a Talmudic version of Islam. Because if you know
In what way? How would you stem that?
because Talmudism is textualism, right? There's this idea that in the Talmud it's just the dead letter of the law, it's not the spirit of the law, right? It's this specific interpretation of things. So when you remove and get rid of the soul and the context behind things, you end up having a situation where people, insist upon form for form's sake without actually thinking about faith and what the reason is behind things, right? Because when the prophet first, started spreading his message, there was no established religion at all. So there's a reason people followed him. And the reason people followed him wasn't just because of his words. It was because of the content of those words, because they made sense to people. And it was also because of the righteousness of his actions, right? So if you don't have those two things, the meaning and the righteousness of action, text and words are dead.
Yeah, because God proves himself through his writings 100%, like through his speech, which is the Quran itself.
Yeah.
But he also proves himself through what happens in the world, miracles wise, how things
Well, that's
end
what
up,
the
even
speech
prophecies whatsoever.
articulates. The
Yeah,
speech is
exactly.
articulating the universe, right? When
And
they say
you know what's funny? I found
Yeah.
I got some drawback like that myself because they have started to follow the religion in a very. It is a Talmudic way where it's like the text is this and this is that, where they're even starting to put some hadith over the Quran itself.
Right,
Like the hadith
exactly.
is our teachings of the Prophet, but the Quran is literally the written word of God in our view.
And it's
So I had
co-eternal, right?
yeah, exactly. And I had made a statement before, like on Twitter. This was maybe 2 weeks ago, where I was starting to question the age of Aisha radiallahu an, right? Because if you look at historical accounts and different hadiths, you can come up to a different conclusion. And then it's like
Yeah.
all of these
No.
Wahhabis and Saudi bots came in.
Yeah, it's
brother, no, why you question,
Notice
brother? Why
it's-
you question?
it's
I'm like,
these-
dude, I only joined the religion
It's the
because I
Wahhabis,
questioned everything.
right? It's the Wahhabis and the Zionists that insist upon this extremely fringe, nonsensical notion that she was, 9 years old or something, and it's really sick and perverted because the mainstream traditions of Islam do not see that. They don't sign off on that and agree with it. And of course, within the Islamic tradition, it's horrific. Like historically, part of Islamic culture, it's unthinkable and horrific, right?
I'm still kind of questioning it. To be honest, it's one of those things where it's like whether it be or whether it isn't, it doesn't affect your dogmatic belief in the religion. It doesn't affect your akida, anything like that. To be honest, this is just like a little moral construct. And even those guys, if you are to stand on it's 6 and 9, it is what it is. This hadith says this, so it has to be that. You can't argue that. Like if you go back 100 years ago and look up the world's age of consent, how it varies country to country.
Bro, that
you
shit,
can't argue that.
but that's a sick way for them to.
I think it tends to be cope.
I don't agree. No, I
don't.
I don't agree with that idea at all. That it's even possible to entertain.
Yeah.
That such a young age. I mean, it's ridiculous to me.
I mean that's why once I saw
I think the people that are pushing that are sick perverts. They're either enemies of Islam from without or they're enemies of Islam from within. They're either sick perverts within Islam or they're sick perverts who are trying to demonize and slander Islam. That's just what I see it as.
Yeah, there is the difference of opinion obviously within the madhabs, but it does matter. But now let's talk, because we've been talking about religion a lot. Right, we've been covering the religious aspect. Let's cover the government aspect of it. Right, let's cover how
There's a guy named Vlad Valachia who's very anti-Islam in my chat. Vlad, I'm going to invite you to join the debate or join a debate, and you can just use your voice to say what you want to say because you're spamming my chat. I'm not banning you. You're not being bad. And he's LARPing as Vlad the Impaler. Vlad the Impaler was literally trained up by the Ottomans. He was literally an Ottoman subject. Why do you think we're scared of... I like Vlad the Impaler, actually. He was an Ottoman.
Don't leak this, but even like our national hero Skanderbeg was trained up by the Ottomans.
So he turned on them. So you know how many times the Janissaries turned on the Sultan? You think this is just Ottoman court intrigue? You think he was this like? You think he was like this like? You think he's like you? He's like this Zionist guy coping and crying about Islam all the time? That was just Ottoman geopolitical court intrigue. It's literally like he was just a part of that history.
Honestly,
nobody has a problem with him.
I feel like during Ottoman times within the Balkans, the Ottomans themselves, well, not the Ottomans,
no,
but
he's
the
saying
countries
Crusader
that were
is
being
not
oppressed.
Zionist. This is how you know this guy's a clown. The Romanians were Orthodox Christians. During the Crusades, the number one victims of the Crusades were the other churches, right? Did you know that? When they went to Byzantium and they massacred the city of the Constantinople, they looted it. Then they went and they destroyed all of the Eastern Christian churches in Egypt and in the Levant and so on and so on. They wanted to take out all the rivals to Rome, right? So what are you even talking about? Please go ahead.
I mean, they didn't even help when Constantinople was getting raped and turned into Istanbul. The Catholics were over there like, that's not our problem.
I mean,
dude.
look, man,
let it happen.
Listen. I don't like this idea of rape or something, because it's not how I see it, actually. Because, when he took over Constantinople, it was a huge show of respect when he converted the cathedral to a mosque. Because he was asserting there was a continuity of the faith,
Yes, that was based.
And the church in Constantinople was not destroyed or dissolved. And people were not forcibly converted.
It's still preserved till today. It's still preserved.
And the point was not to humiliate the Greeks and the Byzantines or whatever. This is some sicko modern politics that we have adopted today, which is this is like some kafir shit, It's like trying to humiliate people.
Never have I heard Haas try to type here. This is some kafir shit.
No, it is. It's some sick shit. I mean, back then they had ideas of honor and they had ideas of respect, and they didn't just see it.
It was through faith as well. Like if it was a practice, because more there people. I think they were more men were more masculine, more honorable in general. But even the real Muslim would see the real Catholic or the real Orthodox guy, and they would still have that mutual respect.
They would have respect. They would trade with each other. They would
exactly.
This idea.
It's only now where I feel like it's gotten very divisive between the Abrahamic faith. It's like okay, the Jews can kind of keep that shit over there a little bit, but
it's a lot of people online who are LARPing. Honestly, it's just the truth.
I have a question for you now.
Yeah.
The biggest one that I see nowadays that has, in recent times, very, very much divided the movement. Because back in 2024, if you looked at kind of the right on the internet, you kind of saw a unison between Muslims and Christians alike fighting against the evil of the Zionist regime. But there's one guy who's Mexican and Sephardi who recently has changed a lot of his rhetoric. I think you know him. Pablo Fuentes. Nick Fuentes. And what do you think about that? He was happy as fuck about switching up on the Muslims and now pushing this anti-Muslim rhetoric. And it seems like he's been pushing some pro-Zio rhetoric as well. What are your thoughts on that?
He got some call during the Charlie Kirk thing. It's just got to be that. He got some call during the Charlie... I mean, I've always thought he was we were against him for a very long time, actually, because of how sketchy he is, how he moves, what a snake he is. How disingenuous, dishonest he is. He has no principles. And the whole time, he's not doing anything from principles. If at any moment the regime would lend the hand to him, he would take it, right? So he was LARPing as a dissident and an enemy of the regime. It's just because he was not in the club. Any opportunity he could get to get inside the club, he will take. And he made his gambit during the Charlie Kirk thing. During the Charlie Kirk assassination... He thought that since Charlie Kirk is out of the way, he's going to be brought up to replace him. And finally, he can hug Ben Shapiro and he can reconcile with all of these mainstream Republicans, and that the GOP is going to embrace him. And he made that gambit, and he alienated a lot of people because he did that. But then he fucking failed, and they didn't embrace him. And so, now he's forced to live with those consequences. So that's really how you have to look at it.
I feel like a lot of the reason why in current times, like this year specifically, the movement has been split a lot. You see so much infighting between the Muslims and Christian. It's like, bro, hold on. We've had a common enemy for the last 2 years. Now we're gonna start doing this shit, this back and forth. And it all stems from Nick's rhetoric. He used to speak very highly on the Muslims, though. He used to. Back in the day, he'd be like, yeah, they worship the Father. He would bring up, there's like the Catholic...
He flip-flops. That's it. It's just flip-flopping.
He did.
It's just flip-flopping.
Honestly, my take on Nick, though, yeah. I just think he's this selfish guy. I think he has a very Machiavellian approach to everything. And to be honest, I think he wouldn't give a flying fuck about his movement, America First. Or I think he might even try and destroy America First if he's not the forefront of him. He wants it all to be surrounded around himself.
I want you to look something up when you get the chance. I never knew who he was, and I spoke to him one time, right? Or a few times, but the first time I spoke to him, I went in not really knowing who he was. I knew that there was this reputation surrounding him, but I was open-minded in the sense that I don't trust what reputations are anymore, because I was being fucking lied about a lot, right? So I give people a chance to talk to me themselves and tell me who they are themselves, right? I spoke to him. You need to watch that conversation back. Oh my God, I looked back at it kind of recently, and I was like, what the fuck? He was talking about how he's like against capitalism. He's for, people having health care. He thinks it's unfair how much, people... He likes Stalin a lot. He thinks these racial divisions are no good. All these kinds of things. It's like, it was incredible to watch it. He was very much signaling left wing in a crazy way, and I was like, what the fuck? So he was just completely lying opportunistically or not telling the truth about his position.
I mean,
because if you see today, he's talking about how, I like Elon Musk. He's a trillionaire. That, socialism is retarded. All this kind of stuff. It's like, what the fuck? So because people sometimes come to me like, Haas, you were cool with him that one time, and I'm like, I didn't know who he fucking was. And plus, look at what he was saying. How would I fucking know, right?
I mean, when it comes to Nick, I just think he's a LARP, and I think he'll go everywhere. He'll target every little audience to gain whatever he can off them to grow his movement. Because he admitted it. He literally admitted it.
Pure opportunism. But let's not talk to him about him too much, because it's just no need.
Yeah, it's just, I feel like I wanted to get your opinion on it from the communistic aspect. Also, it's funny. I did my what's it called, the test where it shows where you stand. It was like a 3-page test, and me personally, I would love Sharia, right? Because I think that's God's decreed law, and I think that is perfect. I think it's obviously from God. It has to be perfect. But I was a left-leaning authoritarian.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that's the based one.
The
top left. Yeah, top left.
Yeah, it was like literally top left, left-leaning, but authoritarian. But still, I am pretty impressionable. How would you sell communism in the United States to like the average Joe?
I would say, I mean, it's all so very simple for me, but sometimes it's not enough when I say something like, why don't we elevate the common interests of the people as the supreme principle of governance? How we run the economy and how we run the government. And when I say that, people are like, that's so vague. And I'm like, yeah, because right now, institutionally, we enshrine the supreme interest that runs our finances, that runs our government, that runs every aspect of our economy, predatory private interests that don't give a fuck about the majority of people at all. When people think of private property, they're thinking of a guy with a fruit stand. Of course, everyone wants the guy with a fruit stand to keep his shit. Of course, when we think about our property that we can relate to, it's our dignity. Like, I have a car, or I have a home, or I have clothes, or someone wants to take that and that's redistribute it. That's like a violation of my fucking dignity, right?
Yeah.
But how the fuck is somebody making all of our electricity their private property? Or worse, they're making it the private property of a banking institution that just rapes us and whose only goal is to rape us. Imagine there's a group called the Financial Rape Association. Their number one goal is to take as much as they can from us, right? These people literally own our water, they own our electricity, they own our energy, they own a lot of cases, they own our roads, definitely own most of our homes. They own all of our mineral wealth, our natural resources. They own our factories. They own our manufacturing. I mean, they own our finances, our U.S. dollar. Every dollar that's printed, they print it, and it puts us in debt, and we have no choice, right? And it's
Shout
like,
out
why the
for
fuck?
the Fed.
Why? That's not even rational. It's like, to me, communism is common sense. Communism doesn't have to mean this crazy idea that, we're going to take everyone's shit and put it in a pile and redistribute it. That's some stupid shit that they made up to make people afraid of common sense. Communism just means that the supreme principle is the common interest. And how do we know what the common interest is? Does it serve the majority, or does it only serve the minority? And I know that's common sense, but that's what needs to be in command. And the only way to make that in command is if we have an authority higher than money. If, as long as money is the highest authority, then it's never going to be possible to change anything. So then you might ask, well, how is change possible then? Well, then the communists are going to come and they're going to say, the one thing that can beat money, just directly, in terms of physical force, numbers, strength in numbers. And who has the numbers? The working class has the numbers. You take every single person on Wall Street and you combine them and put them on a battlefield, and then put every single working class person on the other side of the battlefield. Who wins?
Obviously the people, but
all the money they have in the world would mean nothing, right? I know that's a retarded analogy or abstraction, but you get the basic idea. The source of power has to be the numbers, and also another one. The numbers and who's keeping all of this shit running? Who's keeping the lights on at the end of the day? The people who are working, right? If they combine their power and decide to use their power in an organized way, that is the supreme authority in the nation.
Yeah, but it's like, then overthrow, but then what? I understand you can overthrow the supreme authority, because with I think with capitalism and communism, when you mark them down in idea, they both sound good and they can both work within a functioning society. The part where shit gets destroyed is when you add the imperfect man into the situation to implement it, because the imperfect man always through history falls into corruption.
But just just because man is imperfect doesn't mean we should agree to be ruled by injustice.
100%, but it's also not just like capitalism, the way it's being ran here, is just this one thing, and the direct opposition is just communism. Like, there's other options, and it can just be fixed with certain degrees,
I understand it seems that way, and it seems like, why should it have to be one extreme or the other? But in practice, it comes down to that decisive confrontation.
Why can't it be Sharia? Like, Haas, you grew up Muslim. Why can't it be Sharia in your view?
I think if we want Sharia to be successful, it has to be communism.
But there is rules for how the financial system should work, how things work. There is some communistic values to it, some socialist values.
How are you going to enforce that, though? Think about it. How do you enforce that?
I mean, how do you enforce it? It's
under
technically
Sharia,
it promotes free market under Sharia, and then the socialist aspect would be zakat. Thing is, like, people, like, if you look at the calculations,
that's the end goal. But I'm talking from here and this Epstein regime. At the end of the day, look, and also, it's not about free markets for its sake. It was just governing how people in a dignified and righteous way interact with each other economically. But when you think about it, markets only exist when we don't have information technology to coordinate our economic association. You have to distill the essence, because the context of these procedures and laws governing economic association existed at a time. There was no such thing as the telegram. There was no telephone. There was no large-scale communications. There was no ability for people to coordinate at a large level. And there was no general, like what they call, industrial revolution type of enterprising, right? And under Islamic empires, all the land and the infrastructure was always owned by the authority. Always.
Yeah, it is very authoritarian.
But they owned it directly, like the infrastructure, the waterworks, the land. The idea in an Islamic world that somebody will come and say, I own the water. Hell no. You know who owns the water is the caliph or the sultan or whoever's in charge. They own, or God owns it, This ridiculous idea that you can just carve it up and say, this is my own personal belonging, even though everyone depends on it to exist in a dignified way. Unthinkable, right? So yeah.
So within your view, like let's say you were to implement communism today in America, would people still have their right to their own land and property?
They would have the right to use it in a way that.
But it wouldn't be theirs.
Well, land ownership, if it's just yours, it means you can do whatever you want with it.
True, yeah.
But even today, that's not possible. But the loophole that makes it a problem is if you can sell it to however you want, right? When you start having markets in land, which didn't exist in Islamic societies, you have things like BlackRock that eventually monopolize and own all of it and use it to exploit and enslave people. Because we as individuals can make decisions that make sense to us, right? But when enough people make the wrong decisions, all that shit adds up in a way that is poisonous for society, right? So, for example, yes, people should be able to own their land in the sense that they should be able to, live on it and dwell on it and use it in whatever way they see fit.
How about pass it down?
Yeah, I'm not even against. In China, they have probably the best inheritance laws in the world, probably. They don't even tax it. So I'm not against that in principle.
But you see, though, it's like even with when communism is applied, it doesn't always have to be the full extreme. You don't have to be fully communist or fully capitalist.
No, the
place where you're the best is when you're more towards the middle.
The full extreme doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's something that they invented to scare people.
100%.
Communism was never about making everyone the same. That's not what it ever was. Communism was never about eliminating all the differences and making everyone the same. All it was the revolutionary challenge and answer to the current capitalist system that we have. The comprehensive revolutionary overthrow of the current system. And that doesn't, there's no communist book that says this is exactly how it has to look and exactly this way and so on and so on. It's like if you can recognize that we cannot reform this system. I don't think we can reform the Epstein system. I don't think we can make these incremental reforms. I think the system is fundamentally corrupt at its root, right?
But that system would be fundamentally corrupt whether it was capitalist or communist.
Even if
it has to do with it's not the financial system. It's with the people that are in power.
This is what
the people in power are completely sold out, and we know that now.
But the system and the people in power. Because this is how I'd put it. Is corruption inevitable? Maybe it is, but that's life. Life is ups and downs, right?
It's cycles.
Right now, if we're at a moment in the cycle where it's the revolutionary moment, saying that, well, because generations from now they might have to face the same thing, that means we shouldn't now. That's not an excuse. Life is a cycle, right? Life goes on. And, we shouldn't Just because we fear that eventually things might be corrupted or something in the future doesn't mean we shouldn't fight for what's righteous right now.
I agree with that 100%. I think we do need to make a dent within it for the next generations to take on and push forward and forward, because obviously we want the betterment for society as time goes on. I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily have to be communism. Like, I feel like you apply communism and you tie it in with a lot of things that I would definitely agree with you, but it just doesn't have
Listen,
to be that
the way
route,
I see
you know
it
what I
is,
mean?
look, anything that's not communism is cutting it short. That's the problem.
Really? So
Yes.
is Sharia cutting it short?
Without communism, it would be cutting it short, because what it would
But
become...
what do you mean? So you're saying we need
Sharia is
communism and then it would become that?
No, yeah. If we have communism, we will naturally have Sharia. But listen, real Sharia, because Sharia is being interpreted in the modern way always.
Yeah.
So there's different frameworks for interpreting it. Saudi Arabia has their own, and other countries, maybe Indonesia has their own. But is this real? Is this the actual way, the path to water described by the Prophet? That's what Sharia really means. Is this really the intention behind it? Is Sharia really just about, taking this current, capitalist rape system that we have and just doing a little bit of some modifications here or there and having some legalisms here? No, Sharia was the comprehensive moral framework at the time to ensure people live in a righteous way, in a harmonious and unified way, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to say something that'll probably shock you. The country in the world today that is the closest to Sharia law is the People's Republic of China, followed by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Okay, I mean, this is a side question. We can move on to this later, but people in chat were asking about this. What about the Uyghurs? Like, what's up with that? I'm not saying that as like...
Total psyop.
Can you tell me more on that? Because that's the one topic I have not done research on. Mm-hmm. So what is the psyop here? I love a good psyop. Yeah. I love studying into it to debunk it.
Yeah, they don't even do it that much anymore, but for about 8 years ago or so, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, the CIA and Radio Free Asia were pushing the story that China's engaging in a genocide of the Uyghurs, that they're trying to exterminate and get rid of all the
Uyghurs?
Uyghurs.
Okay.
The people who live in Xinjiang, which they call East Turkestan, right? So, to give you some background, there's been a separatist nationalist movement in Xinjiang for a long time. Never represented the majority, but it's like the Kurds and whatever other kind of separatist groups, right? And they were not religious, they were atheistic. The people who led that movement, they were actually Soviet-aligned communists, because, the Soviets and the Chinese were fighting and beefing. You know how communists were in the past century, right? Hoja was fighting with both of them. So
let's go.
They were atheists, though. They had no connection to religion at all. This was never a religious issue. More recently, the Uyghurs separatists started turning and grifting, and the separatists, not the majority of Uyghurs, they started, speaking more in an Islamic way to get more support from Turkey or from Saudi Arabia or from the Gulf states, the wider Muslim world, right? And recently, the Chinese have been dealing with separatism like 8 years ago, and they cracked down on the separatism. The separatism was basically saying, we want to take Xinjiang, carve it out, and leave China. And, if they cracked down on that, and then, the Western press came and they tried to sell to the Muslim world that, China's oppressing Muslims, these are your Muslim brothers. But here's the interesting thing. I went to Beijing. Everywhere I went, there's halal food. I went to the Museum of the Communist Party of China, a huge, giant building. This is like a holy site for the Chinese communists. It's like a very sacred thing for them, right? Very serious. Right across the street, there's a halal food place, and the line went like a mile. And it's
Muslims are here to take over. They're taking over.
It's not even Muslims in line. It's just Chinese people love the halal food, because who is making this Chinese halal food? They're people called the Hui Muslim, the Hui Chinese. So the Han Chinese, that's the dominant people, the Han, right? There's a huge population of people in China that have been there since the time of the Prophet, I believe, or immediately after the Prophet. They're called the Hui. The Hui are the same as the Han, but they're Muslims. Okay,
Oh
and
shit.
they're so big in China and in Beijing. It's like the restaurants are everywhere. They're not hard to find at all. They're very common. And basically, the Hui Muslims had never had any issues with the communist government at all. There's never been an issue. There's not, you don't see this, oh, they're clamping down and persecuting Muslims. If they had a problem with Muslims, why is there no issue with the Hui, right? This is just about ethnic nationalism and separatism. It has nothing to do with religion.
So with the Uyghurs, it has nothing to do with their religion. It's
No,
more about them
no.
just trying to separate and pretty much destroy
Yeah, they're
parts of
trying to
China.
divide the nation, you know, and it's rooted in nationalism. It has nothing to do with religion.
So, in your view, the Uyghurs of recent, because I remember even before I did my whole deep
Majority of
dive into
Uyghurs
everything,
are proud to be Chinese, by the way. The majority of them are proud to be Chinese. They're loyal. They're proud. They're just a minority of people who were funded with foreign money by the Saudis, by the Gulf states, and the Americans. You know who pushes this Uyghur bullshit as well? These fucking Zionists. Israel's been pushing it, you know? You know why Israel's been pushing it? Israel hates China. Why? Because China's helping Iran. China's building economic agreements with Turkey, with Iran. They're building a framework where Iran can evade sanctions. And, of course, China supports the Palestinians, always has. That's where this bullshit comes from. It's a big Zionist psyop. I mean,
yeah, because I remember, like I was saying, even before I became a Muslim myself, or even started the study, because I'm 21 now. Before I even started the study of with politics and of religion in general, philosophy, psychology, anything, I would see the Uyghur shit
You know what's
on
funny?
my For You
Look up
page
the
when I was a
people-
total
yeah,
normie, bro.
Look up the people who are pushing the Uyghur bullshit, like Drew Pavlou and all these others. Look them up, right? In 2018 or whatever, when they were saying this shit. Same people today support Israel and say nothing about how Islam is the biggest cancer and most dangerous thing in the world. When have these people given a fuck about Muslims? Never.
So you're saying it was just like a bullshit grift push?
Total bullshit.
To,
It was
to
total.
garner sympathy from us.
Yes, it was to grift on Muslims. Yeah, to trick Muslims. Because China has been the biggest friend of the Muslim world because of all the economic agreements. You know, I was in Iraq and I saw what the Chinese were doing in Iraq. They're building highways, they're building infrastructure, and the Iraqis were telling me the Chinese give us such good deals, we don't need the Americans anymore. The Americans have shitty construction, they have shitty building quality and materials. They're trying to bully us and sanction us. The Chinese don't impose any strings on nothing, right? They do it fairly and they give us opportunity. So, you know, it's a big psyop for sure.
Somebody said China's the biggest exporter to Israel, though.
No.
They're not? Then who is?
Exporter of what? China's the biggest number one exporter to the world of manufacturing goods, you know, of shit in general. You know, your phones, everything. All roads somehow lead back to China, you know?
You did touch a little bit on how Israel in the modern day does pretty much hate China because of their participation in BRICS and their overwhelming help to Iran in general over that war. So with the whole situation in the Middle East, with tensions that just keep rising and not falling between Iran, Israel, and now drag the U.S. into it as well, in Haas's view, how does that situation end? Like, what's the end result?
You want to know the truth? It's fucking crazy, but you want to know the truth?
What is it? Lay it on me.
Second American Civil War and World Revolution. There's no way out.
No, think
this
that's
is
the
the
way
end.
it goes?
There's no way out of this shit. Gas prices, we're running out of reserves for the gas right now. The U.S. cannot afford to fucking declare defeat. They can't. The ultimatum Iran's going to put on the U.S. is to get the fuck out of the Middle East. Every single one of their bases has to evacuate, right?
The thing is, there was already talks for it, though. I'm pretty sure they were near a peace deal, and then it was... Well, I don't know how true this is, but J.D. Vance came in and said, well, guys, Israel keeps tarnishing our peace deals because now he's trying to garner the youth a little bit and have a side with him.
Yeah, the peace deal is not going to happen because of what's going on in Lebanon. That's the thing. Israel is not going to fuck off from Lebanon. They will not abide. And so the peace deal is not going to happen, you know. Pakistan has tried very hard. I think Turkey's trying a little bit, but nothing will come of it. The war will continue indefinitely. The strait will continue to be closed. And we're going to start bleeding in this country. Because have you been to the gas pump?
Yes, I faced that. Bro, of course, the most Albanian shit. I pull up in my Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Before my gas tank was like 65.
We're still running on our reserves. We're using our national reserves, okay? And we're running out. By the midterms, after the midterms are over, we're running out of fucking reserves, right? I think what Trump is going to do is if enough of these socialists win in the midterms, who I don't agree with, by the way, about most things, or a lot of things, I should say, he's going to use this as a pretext. He's going to say the communists are going to try to take over and we need to have emergency powers. There's going to be some Civil War type of shit happening soon, probably. And, we're looking at the end of the American empire.
So, okay, this is my second question. Do you think the U.S. can actually go there and wipe the floor with Iran? Do you think they're holding back? Because that's what these politicians always say. We're not going all the way. We're holding back.
They can't do anything. That would require boots on the ground. And if they do boots on the ground, they're going to get slaughtered. And even if they could win, they could not the morale level, they could not afford the loss of life of U.S. soldiers. Because they have no morale. The people are reporting there's no morale on the ground. Nobody who's fighting in the Middle East right now thinks this is a righteous war. They have zero morale. You got to think about something. What wins wars?
Propaganda. No, honestly, the soldier. They need a strong message.
Morale. Morale wins the war. Why is it that the armies of the Prophet?
That's why but that's why also, like in Vietnam, a lot of the soldiers were demoralized. That's why we kind of lost there, didn't we, right?
Of course. How did Genghis Khan conquer the world? He started with literally nothing. Nothing. He had nothing. The Prophet is the same way. The Prophet had only his message.
Yep.
You know? Morale wins wars. That's why in Lebanon, are you on kick?
Yeah, I am.
In Lebanon, Hezbollah defeated Israel. How the hell did they do that? You know? It's not like they had more advanced technology or anything like that in 2006. So, you know, morale is what wins wars. The U.S. doesn't have any of that. So they can have all the technology in the world, and they could say, well, we could just nuke them. Okay? We start dropping nukes on Iran, then Russia's going to do the same thing in Ukraine, and it's going to escalate into World War III for Europe. And,
you think the only way this ends up ending is just American defeat there with a revolutionary behind it?
I'm going to
because if that's it, then I'm kind of for it. I'm not going to lie.
America cannot.
We need a revolution of any sort, whether it be communist or anything. I'll make a prediction. Epstein regime.
I'll make a prediction. The way. If or when America declares defeat, there will be a revolution at home. That's going to be the crack that everyone's going to say this regime ain't shit. And they're going to stop fearing the regime.
But the thing is, people need to have that already, though. Like, when Trump was running, what was his thing?
They're so close, you would not believe how close they are. That's why when you go on X today...
When Trump was running, though, when Trump was running, he was saying, we should have never been in Afghanistan, we should have never been in Iraq, bitching about the wars in the Middle East. That was based. We sided with him for that. Now he comes into office and does the same exact thing. People don't notice this hypocrisy because of all the propaganda that's pushed through these news channels.
If you go now to X, they're doing so much fucking damage control. Laura Loomer. Go on Laura Loomer's profile. 1.9 million followers. Every post she makes gets 10K, 50K likes. Who's liking a Laura? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever met a single person in real life who is a fan of Laura Loomer?
No, they'll just say she looks like a fucking...
They're botting that shit to do damage control because they're fucking terrified that the population right now is the angriest it has ever been at the regime. And there's so much pro-regime slop on all of our timelines on social media right now like never before.
Grandma Americana, thank you, brother.
Because they are doing a fucking massive damage control psyop, and it's so transparent.
Yeah, even somebody in my chat, Sharpies, he said all of her likes are from India. And the thing is,
Probably, yeah.
they did do study on this. When it comes to Pablo Fuentenberg and Jigsaw, Laura Loomer, when every time they do post a tweet, all of the initial traffic is from India, Bangladesh,
Wait,
and Pakistan,
you could not,
which then pushes
yeah.
the tweet.
How long did it take you to realize that Nick Fuentes' posts are all botted? Like, they're all botted.
Once I looked at his Rumble numbers, saying he's getting like 40K live.
He is botted as fuck on X. He's the most botted account on X. I'll go and, like, right hand to God. He is the most botted person on X that people don't know is actually botted. Like, what they have, it's not fully mapped out, but they have a very advanced bot network, which is one of those more advanced ones where they have this shit on the walls. Like, they have a very high quality bot network where it's not actually getting discovered. It's not like cheap bots, you know? It's like the high quality ones that they have.
It's just generally Indians on different devices, like actually liking your shit.
Yeah, they have access to some platform manipulation stuff that most of the public doesn't, for sure. And it would make sense, obvious. Though, for example, when Candace Owens ratioed him, it somehow was neck and neck. Like, she was 36K, he got 31K. Really? What they were doing is, as she was ratioing him, they would bump him up a little bit. Then she would get more. They would get more attention, so she ratio him more. They would bump him up a little bit more. Finally, they stopped and gave up because they're like, "Fuck, we can't stop."
I mean, let's be real. Let's just look at it from a regular worldview right now. Who is gonna win in an X ratio war? Nick Fuentes, who's at the lowest he's been in recent times after his generational run because of his recent beefs, or Candace Owens, who just finished whooping the floor with Andrew Wilson, bro?
I will tell you something. The thing about Fuentes is, the more you think about these people and talk about them, the more energy that they get in the air.
True.
And that's, if you may not believe it, but I never really talk about that guy. And every interaction we've had was triggered by him talking about us.
Yeah, because
we have been living rent free in his mind.
He's trying to come over and grab anything you got on your side.
For like 3 years, we've been living rent free in his mind. We've been ignoring him. Only recently we started to fight back, but we just ignored for 3 years, right?
Yeah, you guys have been coming up, bro. Real shit. The ACP has been killing it recently. That's why, like, even one of my mods, I didn't even know, one of the mods that watched my stream, he's like a huge fan of yours as well. And he's like, yo, you gotta get on the show with Oz. I'm like, fuck it, he's live, let's do it. I've been seeing you guys everywhere. And the thing is, as the American population does become more frustrated, I can see how many more will lean your way. If it was me, during my time when I was just working my fucking goy job, like 60 hours a week to make $23 an hour, and then I go to the deli. I'm in New York, by the way. I go to the deli in Manhattan. I'm like, bro, I need a fucking Red Bull and a bottle of water, and I'm paying $7. I'm like, fuck, this is like damn near an hour of my work just for like a few commodities. You know what I mean? If you caught me back then, I'd probably be on your side. I'd probably be right behind you, saluting right now.
But look, it's really, the thing is, it's about the revolutionary way, you know? You don't have to think about ideologies as much as you have to think about, are we revolutionaries, or are we people who bow our heads down and submit to the status quo? You have to think about what is the most effective revolutionary
I will bow
path.
my head and submit to the one and only above.
But you know, my view is that is revolutionary. When you bow your head to the absolute, to the one, you're basically telling all the fucking Epsteins, all these fucking people, yeah, you're saying, fuck you, you're nothing to me.
Yeah, because they want to prop themselves up as false idols, and that's what it's always
exactly.
been. It's a form of shirk. Revolution doesn't always mean communism. That's where I stand. You see,
but you do. Because
I'm all for it. Revolution, brother. I am with you.
You do have to think about the question: why are these same people and their ancestors who are in power? Why did they spend literally trillions of dollars to suppress communism more than all the money in the world?
Yeah, that is what I was thinking. Because honestly, I think
that when truth is out, it's always scared the shit out of them more than anything, to the point where they made an alliance with the Salafis to fight communism. Meaning they made an alliance with people calling themselves Muslims. You know, the U.S. didn't start fearing Islam until Khomeini in '79. Malcolm X and
Yeah.
Khomeini. I would say Malcolm X and Khomeini. Those two were the first people. There's limited exceptions elsewhere, but mainly that's when they started fucking getting scared of Islam. They were fine when people were just reading books and praying and doing nothing else.
When they saw that there's an actual movement behind it.
Yeah, when they started...
It's a spiritual connection. It's a spiritual war and a physical war. And they're ready to do it.
That's what started making them scared, you know?
Yeah, I mean, because when you see people that generally believe that, you know what, I fight you right now and I win, I achieve
so what
greatness,
I would say,
and if I die, I achieve Jannah. Like,
so what I would say is, like, look, even if you don't identify as a communist, you should still examine and study communism, because those people were fighting the physical war for like 200 years, right? And there's something to be learned and gained from that.
True. I do see what you're saying. And as I was going to say earlier, the way I look at it in the modern sphere, everything that has some truth in it has been brutally attacked to keep pushing the bullshit. And with communism, it has been brutally attacked. Even to the point where even within the school system is brutally attacked.
Oh,
Brother,
yeah.
I'm in college, and I take economics. My first semester there, the first semester that I was there in my economics 101 class, majority of it was the stem of how communism and capitalism started. But there was about a week's lesson of just how communism is like the worst thing to exist, and we have to be ultra capitalist.
I just
and that threw me off. That
just
shit
see
threw me off. You're selling it too much.
I see communism as the rediscovery of monotheism in the era of capitalism, because people lost the fact that money is also an idol.
It is.
And
it definitely is.
And there's an idol worship that is all around us that we don't even name, because we don't directly call it a god. We call it money, we call it the state, we call it this institution, that institution. But these are idols.
It does stop you from your faith as well. It can prohibit you from like practicing your faith fully. And I faced that myself. You know, I think we have all faced that. With money, it's a big factor. You need it to live. It's energy. It's literally energy. It's physical, but it's also energy in its full form. And it is highly idolized in the capitalist system. I don't think I'd be a full commie. I think I'd be socialist, if anything.
They've perverted God into the all-seeing eye that you see on the dollar. And their version of God is a metaphysical force that is looking out for and justifying and protecting the existing system. And that's not the God of
that would be the Antichrist. That would be the Dajjal. Like the whole one eye symbolism. What does it come from?
Absolutely, it's the Dajjal. But they're trying to make people think the Dajjal is God. Like if you go to these evangelical churches, who are they worshiping? Are they worshiping the God of the prophets in these evangelical churches? Are the Wahhabis worshiping the God of our prophet? I don't think so. I think they're worshiping something else.
There has been a huge push on Dajjal worship as well. If you look at it over on TikTok and Instagram, there's people cosplaying him, worshiping him, and it's like the full Islamic Dajjal. They will wear the whole thing of how we see him. You know, the one eye covered, kafir on his forehead, etc. That wave is already here, and I think the Epstein regime, and let's be real, it's the Israeli regime, is going to end up pushing it all forward. They're literally ushering him in at the moment.
Yeah, let me see what's going on with Kick. What the fuck? Kick is like not working.
It was glitching out like yesterday as well, brother.
Really?
Oh yeah, what the fuck? This XML file does not appear to have
that's for you too? Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck? I just refreshed my dashboard. My chat's like frozen too. I can't even know my chat's dead. Are we even still live?
Probably not, bro. Listen, honestly, it was good talking, and
no, it was great to connect. That
yeah.
W, bro. I like that. That was actually a good conversation. It was
How
meaningful.
Old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Have you seen my shit before at all, or
maybe a little bit? I've seen you on the clips of you, like with the Fuentes.
With the AI shit.
Yeah, the AI shit.
That was pretty viral on Twitter.
I've seen that. Look, bro, I'm glad people are waking up to those Reupers and shit because we were for a long time. These people are dishonorable. These people are fucking fake and disingenuous, and we shouldn't play into like going to war with Christians. It's about
Yeah, and that's what I've been trying to do
yeah.
the most, bro.
Hmm.
That it's been that I do not want to go to war with the Christians because we
No,
had that we
bro,
had
it's
that
like
unity for so
you
long.
come from Albania, and Albania Christians and Muslims are united. I
And
come from
you know
yeah.
what's crazy though? One of
Uh-huh.
the quotes that even this was during the war in Kosovo. It
Yeah.
was a Catholic priest, and he said, "We will." This is literal. He said, "We will melt our crosses and turn them into bullets to fight for our Muslim brothers in Kosovo." Like
Yeah.
that's how tightly knitted we were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
And it's
where
like
did you come from? Finish that, please. I
in,
do
in
want to
in
know.
Lebanon, Christians and Muslims did beef in the war, but in large part, even those Christians who are Maronite Catholics, they are our friends. They're just like us. They're close to us. And then, of course, the Greek Orthodox Christians, like they were always very close to my family and shit, right? So like there was never this division where we hate Christians or something like
Is
that.
it kind of because with us the way it is like when we're out in public, we're
Mm.
all Albanian. The faith is just a private thing, and
Yeah, that
even
is
like
it.
if,
In
yeah,
Lebanon, it is like that, honestly.
it's like even if I'm sitting at a table and I'm Muslim and the other guy's
Hmm.
Orthodox, the other guy's Catholic,
Hmm.
we just don't talk about it.
Right,
Like we will
right.
enjoy everything else.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, bro, I understand the Goyim memes are funny and shit, but like I just trust the hell out of that shit. Like this the stuff Nick Fuentes is embracing, where he's like, "Oh, I like being the Jews. Everyone else is low IQ and shit." It's like, bro.
Yeah, the same thing when he literally normalized the Epstein sweaters, made it his own
Yeah,
merch and
that's
shit. Like
stupid
I
ass
understand
shit.
how it can be funny, but it's like this was literally this guy should be evil incarnate
Bro,
for us. He's the guy
maybe
that led our government to be
bro,
what it is today.
are we schizo if we say that they fucking shut down Kick because of this conversation?
Nah, we both got it. Is it all of Cake though? Hold on, let me
Gotta
check
be
the
all
app
of Kick. Let me check my Discord.
we're both looking at PC. Let me check app. Oh, nah, yo, they should shut down on the app too. Nah, that might be a little
Oh,
schizo, but if
some
there is
people are
somebody
still
watching,
watching. Some people are still watching, they're saying.
they can see.
Yeah, but they can't
But hold
chat.
on, look,
They can still
look, nigga,
see. We're still
brother,
live, yeah.
the app. I can't even see the app. There's nothing here. It's saying log in and sign up.
No,
Did
no,
we
I
both
know,
just
I
get
know, but the
nuked?
people who still have the stream up, they can actually still
Are they
see.
saying in the Discord? Okay,
Yeah, they're
okay.
saying that in Discord.
All right, Haas. It was great to meet you,
Yeah,
bro.
good
We'll
to see you,
definitely run
bro.
this back again sometime.
For
We'll
sure,
do
for sure.
we'll reconvene. And yeah, shout out to ACP. You know, I'll give you guys a salute. How do you do it fully?
Just a normal salute, you know? That's how you gotta do it. Alright, bro.
All right,
Good
Haas.
shit. I'll
Assalamu
see you
alaikum.
later. Alaikum assalam. See you later, bro.
Peace.
Okay, guys, if you made it this far, congratulations. But we are gonna wrap it up. Check the Discord. Bye bye.